Once upon a time, in a lively town known for its big markets and colorful festivals, there lived a young girl named Amarachi. Now, Amarachi wasn't just any girl. She was the kind of girl that everyone noticed. Her beauty was unmatched, with sparkling eyes that shone like stars and a smile that could light up the darkest night. But it wasn't just her beauty that made her special. Amarachi had a way with words, a charm that could sweep people off their feet. She was proud, bold, and believed the world was hers to conquer. Amarachi came from a well-known family. Her father, Chief Obi, was a wealthy man, known in the whole community for his successful business. He had built a big house on the hill, and every market day, his car would roll through the busy streets as people stopped to watch. Chief Obi was respected, and so was Amarachi's mother, Mama Emeka, who owned a shop that sold the finest clothes and jewelry in the market. Mama Emeka made sure Amarachi and her siblings lacked nothing, dressing them in the latest styles. She even sent them to the best schools, far from the village where they learned the ways of the big city. Amarachi was used to the best of everything, and because of that, she became a bit too proud. She had many friends who followed her everywhere, laughing at her jokes, admiring her dresses, and praising her every move. Wherever she went, her friends would say, "Amarachi, you are too much. There is no one like you." And she believed them. Amarachi felt untouchable, like a queen among her friends. She had a way of looking down on anyone she thought was beneath her, especially those who didn't have as much money or fine clothes as she did. One of Amarachi's closest friends was Ngozi. Ngozi was a gentle soul, always helping others, and she would often remind Amarachi to be kind. "Amara, not everyone has what we have. You should treat people well," Ngozi would say softly. But Amarachi would laugh and wave her hand. "Ngozi, you don't understand. In this world, it's the strong that survive. If someone is poor, that's their problem. Me, I can never marry a poor man. Oh, never." Her friends would laugh, and Ngozi would just shake her head, hoping one day Amarachi would understand. One day, as the sun set and painted the sky with shades of orange and purple, Amarachi and her friends were walking through the town square, chatting and laughing as they usually did. Suddenly, they noticed a young man sitting by the roadside, dressed in simple, worn-out clothes. He was selling hand-carved wooden animals, small sculptures of lions, elephants, and birds. His face was tired, but his eyes were bright, full of hope and dreams. Amarachi looked at him and whispered to her friends, "Look at that boy, so poor and dirty. Why does he even bother?" She laughed, making fun of him openly, thinking it was amusing. Her friends joined in, some giggling, others nodding, not wanting to disagree with her. But the young man just looked at them quietly, his eyes calm and unbothered by their laughter. Amarachi and her friends loved to gather by the big mango tree near the edge of the town. This spot was like their secret palace, where they gossiped, laughed, and looked down on anyone who didn't fit their idea of class. They'd laugh at anyone passing by with torn clothes or worn-out shoes, their voices echoing through the branches as they mocked people without a second thought. The whole town knew that Amarachi and her friends were the queens of gossip, their words as sharp as the thorns on a rose bush. Ngozi, though she was Amarachi's friend, was different. She was a gentle girl who didn't like mocking people and often told Amarachi to be kind. But Amarachi would laugh and brush her off. "Ngozi, you're too soft. Life is about being on top. If you're poor, that's your problem. Me, I'll only marry a man with riches and power, nothing less." Despite Ngozi's gentle reminders, Amarachi's pride only grew. Her family's wealth had made her feel untouchable, like she was on top of the world. She would say, "Imagine me, Amarachi, the queen, marrying someone who can't even buy me shoes? Tufiakwa. It will never happen." One day, as Amarachi strolled through the marketplace, a young man approached her. His name was Emeka, a farmer who toiled day and night in his small farm on the outskirts of the village. Emeka had admired Amarachi from afar, captivated by her beauty. He had always hoped for a chance to speak with her, though he knew she was proud and looked down on people like him. But Emeka's heart was full of courage, and he decided to try his luck. As he approached, he took a deep breath, "Good afternoon, Amarachi," he said politely, his voice steady but filled with hope. Amarachi turned around, giving him a look from head to toe, her eyes narrowing as she realized he was just a simple farmer. "And who are you to greet me?" she asked, her voice dripping with pride. Emeka smiled nervously. "My name is Emeka. I've been watching you for some time, and I thought maybe we could know each other better." Amarachi's friends, who had gathered around her, gasped and giggled, nudging each other and whispering. Amarachi threw her head back and laughed, loud and clear, as if he had just told the funniest joke in the world. She shook her head, looking at him like he was from another planet. "Know each other better? Do you even know who you're talking to?" she mocked, her voice laced with sarcasm. "Emeka, you're a poor farmer. How could you possibly think you're fit to be with someone like me?" Emeka's face flushed, but he held his ground. "Amarachi, I may not be rich, but I'm hardworking. I can give you a good life." She laughed even louder, looking him square in the eye. "A good life? With you? Let me tell you something, Emeka. I already have a rich boyfriend who could buy you and your whole family if he wanted. You think I'd give all this up for a man who plays in the dirt all day?" Her friends burst into laughter, and Amarachi turned away, dismissing Emeka with a wave of her hand as if he was nothing. But Emeka didn't say a word. He just looked at her, his gaze steady and calm. Amarachi could feel his eyes on her, but she ignored him and walked away, laughing with her friends, feeling as if she had won some great victory. Little did she know that her life was about to twist in ways she could never imagine. A few days later, news spread throughout the village that the king was hosting a grand festival, a celebration like none before. It was to be a night filled with music, dancing, and feasting. Everyone in the village was expected to attend, from the wealthiest families to the humblest farmers. The king himself had extended the invitation, saying that the festival was for all to enjoy, a chance for everyone to come together and celebrate as one. The day of the festival finally arrived, and the whole village was buzzing with excitement. From every corner, people dressed in their finest clothes gathered, bringing food, laughter, and joy to the king's palace grounds. The night was alive with music, drums beating, and people dancing. It was a celebration like no other, with everyone in high spirits. Amarachi had chosen her outfit carefully, a striking dress that clung to her like a second skin, with glittering beads and bold colors that caught everyone's eye. Her dress was unlike anything anyone had ever seen in the village, and it revealed just enough to make heads turn. She wanted to stand out, to be the center of attention, and she knew her look would do just that. But when her boyfriend saw her, his face darkened. "Amarachi, this dress, it's too open. You don't need to wear this to look beautiful. Can't you wear something more decent?" he said, trying to sound gentle. Amarachi's smile vanished, replaced by a look of irritation. She crossed her arms and stared at him, her voice full of pride. "Who are you to tell me what to wear?" she replied. "I am still young, and I am not even your wife yet, and you're already trying to control my life." Her words were sharp, and her boyfriend looked hurt. "Amara, I'm only saying this because I care. I want you to look beautiful, but I also want you to be respected," he said softly, hoping she would understand. But Amarachi's pride was stronger than any advice. She scoffed, turning her head away. "If you don't like it, then maybe we shouldn't be together. After all, I have many men who would be more than happy to have me. I don't need someone who tries to police me." With that, she walked away, her head held high, leaving him behind, stunned and heartbroken. Meanwhile, Emeka was at the festival too, though he stayed in the shadows, away from the laughter and noise. He still remembered the harsh words Amarachi had thrown at him, the way she had laughed and looked down on him as if he were nothing. His heart had broken that day, and since then, he had kept to himself, working even harder on his small farm, determined to prove himself someday. But tonight, as the king's voice echoed across the festival grounds, Emeka's quiet life was about to change. The king stood up, raising his hand to silence the crowd. "Tonight, we are not only here to celebrate, but also to honor some of the hardest working and brightest young men in our village. These young men have shown dedication, resilience, and intelligence beyond their years, and tonight we recognize them." One by one, names were called, and each young man stepped forward to receive their recognition. Emeka's heart raced as he heard the king call his name, unsure if he'd heard correctly. "Emeka, come forward," the king's voice boomed, filled with pride. The crowd parted, and Emeka, nervous and surprised, walked up to the king. Murmurs filled the air as people whispered, surprised to see him honored. Amarachi watched, her eyes widening in shock as she recognized him. The same poor farmer she had mocked not long ago. But tonight, he stood before the king, looking proud and determined. The king continued, "Emeka and these other young men have shown us what it means to work hard and never give up. And because of this, they have earned scholarships to study in the city, where they will learn and grow and bring back knowledge to make our village even greater." Tears filled Emeka's eyes as he looked out over the crowd, his heart swelling with pride and hope. This was the chance he had prayed for, the opportunity to change his life and prove that he was worth more than what others saw. As the villagers cheered, Emeka glanced around and saw Amarachi in the crowd, her expression unreadable. She had once laughed at him, dismissed him as nothing, but here he was, ready to start a new chapter of his life. The next day, as the sun rose, Emeka, along with the other young men, boarded the bus that would take them to the city. He looked back at the village one last time, a quiet smile on his face. The life he was leaving behind was filled with struggles, but he knew his future held endless possibilities. And so, with dreams as bright as the rising sun, Emeka set off on his journey, ready to change his life forever. Years passed, and much had changed in the village, though some things stayed the same. Amarachi's friends were still close, still the queens of gossip, and still as proud as ever. But her friend Ngozi, the gentle and kind one, had found love in an unexpected place. Obinna, her fiancé, was a humble farmer, hard-working and sincere, though he didn't have much in wealth or status. When Ngozi announced her upcoming traditional wedding, she was overjoyed, dreaming of a life with someone who valued her heart. One afternoon, as Ngozi and Amarachi sat under the big mango tree, Ngozi couldn't wait to share her excitement. "Amarachi, the date is set. Obinna and I are getting married soon." Her eyes sparkled with joy as she spoke. Amarachi paused, then looked at her friend with a smirk. "Ngozi, you're really going through with this? Marrying that poor man?" She shook her head in disbelief. "After all these years, you still want to settle with a poor farmer?" Amarachi's other friends chimed in, laughing and shaking their heads. "Ngozi, you're young, beautiful, and you could do so much better. Why waste your time with a man who can barely make ends meet?" The laughter and mocking hit Ngozi like a wave, and her heart sank. Their words echoed in her mind, filling her with doubt. Maybe they're right, she thought. She began to question her decision, wondering if she was truly making a mistake. Tears stung her eyes as she excused herself and went home, her mind troubled by her friend's words. When she arrived, her mother saw her face and immediately knew something was wrong. She sat her down and held her hands, giving her a look that only a mother could give, a look full of love, wisdom, and understanding. "Ngozi," her mother said softly, "marriage is not about wealth or glamour. It is about finding someone who loves you, respects you, and will walk with you through every season of life. You told me how Obinna treats you, how he cares for you. Don't let the voices of others take that away from you." Her mother's words soothed her heart, reminding her of why she had chosen Obinna in the first place. She smiled, feeling reassured and grateful. She knew, deep down, that Obinna was the one for her. Meanwhile, far from the village, Emeka's life had transformed completely. He had excelled in his studies at the university, quickly rising to be one of the most recognized and respected students in his field. His hard work and determination had earned him the admiration of professors and classmates alike, and he was known for his intelligence, kindness, and unwavering spirit. The boy who had once been dismissed as a mere farmer was now a young man with a bright future ahead of him. Back in the village, Ngozi's wedding day finally arrived. It was a simple ceremony, without the grand decorations or lavish clothes that Amarachi and her friends would have preferred. The event was modest, with wooden benches and handmade decorations. The women from the village brought pots of food, and the men helped set up the small gathering area. Amarachi and her friends stood in the corner, their expressions smug as they whispered among themselves, casting glances at the ceremony with judgment in their eyes. But Ngozi was unfazed. She wore a simple but beautiful traditional wrapper, and her face shone with joy as she stood beside Obinna, who looked at her as if she were the only woman in the world. As the ceremony went on, Ngozi's heart swelled with happiness, and she knew she had made the right choice. She didn't need the approval of anyone but herself. She was marrying a man who loved her deeply and whose heart was as strong as his hands were calloused from work. She felt rich in love, something more valuable than all the wealth her friends could imagine. Amarachi watched, a slight frown on her face, but Ngozi didn't mind. Her mind was made up, her heart was content, and nothing could take away the joy she felt that day as she took Obinna's hand. The simple, humble ceremony ended with laughter, music, and a feast, and as the sun set, Ngozi looked in her husband's eyes, knowing she had made the choice that truly mattered. Months passed, and the village continued to change, but for Amarachi, life took a sudden turn. One evening, her father was returning home from work when he had a terrible accident. He broke his spine, and the news shattered the family. They rushed him to the hospital, but the treatment was costly, draining almost their entire fortune. After many long weeks of treatment, he survived, but he was left in a wheelchair, unable to walk again. The family's fortunes had changed drastically, and Amarachi felt the weight of their situation pressing heavily on her heart. With her father unable to work, the family struggled to make ends meet. Amarachi had to put aside her dreams of living lavishly and instead focus on helping her family. She found herself reflecting on the life she had once taken for granted. It was during this difficult time that she met Chima. Chima was everything Amarachi had ever dreamed of. He was bright, tall, and handsome, with a charm that could light up any room. More than that, he was rich, a businessman who had built his success from the ground up. He approached Amarachi one sunny afternoon while she was at the market, and they struck up a conversation. As they talked, Amarachi felt a connection she hadn't felt in years. Chima's laughter was infectious, and he listened intently to her stories. He promised her a life filled with happiness, love, and comfort, and she couldn't help but be drawn to him. "You're the perfect person I've always wanted," Amarachi exclaimed, her heart fluttering with excitement. Their relationship blossomed quickly, and soon enough, Chima proposed to her in a grand, romantic setting. Amarachi accepted without a second thought, her heart swelling with joy. She had found her Prince Charming, the man who could take her away from the struggles she had faced. The wedding day arrived, filled with laughter, love, and celebration. Amarachi felt like a queen, adorned in a stunning dress that made her shine brighter than ever. The village gathered to witness the union, and for the first time in a long time, Amarachi felt hope and happiness enveloping her. After the wedding, Amarachi and Chima moved to the city, leaving behind the village that had been her home. As they settled into their new life, Amarachi felt a sense of freedom she had longed for. The city was vibrant and full of opportunities, and she was excited to explore it all with Chima by her side. Together, they began to build a new life, filled with dreams and ambitions. Amarachi looked forward to each new day, knowing that her past had shaped her, but her future with Chima was bright and full of promise. And as they ventured into this new chapter together, she couldn't help but feel grateful for the twists and turns life had brought her way. Months later, Emeka's hard work and determination paid off in ways that no one in the village could have imagined. He graduated with top honors and was quickly employed by a prominent oil company. With his newfound success, he returned to the village, where he had once been dismissed as just a poor boy with dreams. Now, he was a hero to the villagers, using his wealth and knowledge to rebuild and improve their community. Emeka set up a large greenhouse, introducing modern farming techniques that brought fresh produce and jobs to many. The village thrived under his leadership, and the infrastructure flourished. Roads were repaired, schools were built, and the once struggling village became a beacon of hope and prosperity. Mothers whispered to their daughters, urging them to consider Emeka as a potential husband. He had transformed not only his own life, but also the lives of everyone around him, proving that determination and hard work could lead to incredible changes. Ngozi's husband, Obinna, became one of Emeka's closest friends. Emeka made him the manager of the greenhouse, allowing Obinna to support his family and providing him with a chance to prove himself. Their fortunes turned around, and Ngozi's happiness flourished alongside her husband's success. She felt proud to stand by Obinna, who had always been her rock, especially now that they could provide for their future together. Meanwhile, Amarachi's life in the city was far from the fairy tale she had envisioned. Her marriage, once filled with excitement and promise, began to unravel. Chima, the man she had thought was her perfect match, revealed a darker side. He started to maltreat her, belittling her, and claiming she was good for nothing. Each harsh word cut deeper, and with every passing day, Amarachi felt more trapped and isolated in her own home. Little did she know, Chima harbored a sinister secret. He was a ritualist, and Amarachi had unwittingly become a pawn in his dangerous game. He never loved her. He had married her with a cruel plan in mind. She was to be used for a dark sacrifice. As the night of the ritual approached, Amarachi felt an overwhelming sense of dread. One afternoon, as the sun dipped low in the sky, a prophet came to her door, warning her of the impending danger. The man spoke with urgency, revealing the truth about Chima's intentions. He detailed the dark rituals Chima planned to perform that night, explaining that her life was at stake. Amarachi's heart raced with fear and disbelief as she realized the depths of her husband's betrayal. In that moment, her instincts kicked in. She knew she had to escape. With her heart pounding and panic rising, Amarachi gathered a few belongings and fled the city. She ran with only one thought in mind. She needed to get back to the village, back to the safety of her family and friends, where she could start anew and escape the darkness that had consumed her life. When Amarachi finally returned to the village, she came back with nothing but the clothes on her back and the life she fought so hard to protect. The once vibrant girl who had laughed at others for their struggles now faced the bitter truth of her own failures. Her family was poor, burdened by the medical condition that had left her father in a wheelchair. They had lost so much, and Amarachi could see the toll it had taken on her mother, who wore worry lines like a crown. As she walked through the village, it was hard to ignore the stares and whispers from those who once idolized her. The girls she had mocked for their lack of wealth now seemed radiant, content in their lives, and married to good men who treated them with love and respect. They may not have had riches, but they had something far more valuable: peace in their homes. One day, while walking along the road, she spotted Ngozi and her husband driving by. They were laughing and chatting, a picture of happiness. At first, Amarachi wanted to hide, to slip away and avoid their eyes, but it was too late. Ngozi caught sight of her and waved, her smile wide and genuine. The car stopped, and they exchanged greetings, but Amarachi could see the pity in their eyes. She felt a surge of shame wash over her as they drove off, leaving her feeling small and insignificant. Desperate for a way out of her despair, Amarachi turned her attention to Emeka, the boy she once mocked. He had become the pride of the village, a man of success and influence. She approached him one sunny afternoon, her heart pounding in her chest. "Emeka," she began, "I know I was wrong. I treated you poorly, and I'm truly sorry. Can you find it in your heart to forgive me? I want to start anew. Maybe we could even get married." Emeka looked at her, his expression unreadable. "No, Amarachi, I don't want a second-hand wife," he replied, his voice steady but firm. Those words hit her like a slap in the face, crushing her spirit. She felt dejected and alone, realizing that the world had turned against her. The people who once loved her now looked at her with disappointment, and all the wealth she had chased meant nothing in the face of her lost integrity. With a heavy heart and nowhere else to turn, Amarachi swallowed her pride. "Emeka," she said, her voice barely above a whisper, "can you help me with my daddy's medical bills? He needs treatment, and I don't know where else to go." Emeka's eyes softened for a moment, but he remained silent. Amarachi stood before him, a broken girl seeking redemption, her heart aching with regret for the way she had treated him and others in the past. The reality of her situation settled heavily on her shoulders, and she felt tears prick at the corners of her eyes, knowing she had to fight for her family's future, even if it meant facing the consequences of her past actions. Emeka, with a heart full of compassion and determination, made a decision that would change not only Amarachi's life, but also that of her family. He remembered the struggles he had faced, the kindness the villagers had shown him when he was down, and he knew he had to give back. Without hesitation, he reached out to his contacts in the city, arranging for Amarachi's father to be flown abroad for the surgery he desperately needed. The villagers watched in awe as Emeka took on the responsibility, using his success to uplift those who had once lifted him when he was down. Months passed, and with each passing day, hope blossomed anew for Amarachi and her family. Finally, the day came when Amarachi's father returned home, his health restored and his spirit renewed. He was filled with gratitude for Emeka, the young man he had once seen as just a poor boy with dreams. The villagers celebrated together, embracing the joy of a miracle that had come from the unity of their community and the strength of one man's heart. As Amarachi watched her father laugh and dance with the villagers, she felt a sense of peace wash over her. She approached Emeka, her heart swelling with gratitude. "Thank you for saving my father's life. I see now that I was wrong about you, and I'm so sorry for how I treated you." Emeka smiled, his eyes reflecting kindness and wisdom. "Amarachi, it's important to remember that life is not just about wealth and appearances. True richness comes from our hearts and the way we treat others. Never forget the value of kindness and humility." In that moment, Amarachi understood the powerful lesson that life had taught her. She vowed to change her ways, to appreciate the simple joys of life, and to value the people around her, whether they were rich or poor. From that day forward, Amarachi became a different person. She joined hands with Emeka to help others in the village, supporting those in need and spreading kindness wherever she went. The village flourished, united by love and compassion, proving that when we lift each other up, we create a community that can overcome any hardship. The moral of the story is simple yet profound. We should never judge others by their circumstances. True value lies in our character, kindness, and the ability to uplift those around us. In a world where wealth and appearances can deceive, let us choose to see the heart of each person, for it is in our hearts that the real treasure resides. Thank you for watching this inspiring tale of Amarachi and Emeka. If you enjoyed the story and its powerful message about kindness and humility, don't forget to subscribe to our channel, like this video, and share it with your friends and family. Your support helps us create more amazing stories. We'd love to hear your thoughts. What did you think about Amarachi's journey? Have you ever judged someone based on their appearance or situation? How can we all strive to be more like Emeka, helping those in need and lifting each other up? Leave your comments below and let us know how this story resonated with you. Remember, sharing your reactions not only helps us improve, but also inspires others. Thank you for being a part of our community, and we can't wait to see you in the next story. Bye.